Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Okay, I think we had stopped on this last point, that is the process. Today we will continue with the last point of evolution of services, how the services evolved. What is the scenario of services in the Indian economy? Indian economy is divided primarily in three sectors. That is primary, we all are aware of this. Primary sector, the secondary sector, and the tertiary sector. The primary sector consists of mining, agriculture, and fishing. The secondary consists of the manufacturing sector. And the third one, the tertiary one, consists of the services sector. Am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. You're audible, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Now here, if we think of comparing, I think I have not taken the figures on the PPT. If we compare the gross domestic product across the three economic sectors, okay, from 2009, if we take the agricultural sector, the GDP increased from 16.74% to 15.96 in 2019. If we take into consideration the manufacturing or the industrial sector, it was 31.12% in 2009 and 24.88%, that is 88% in 2019, wherein we find that it has decreased. While if we take into consideration the services sector, 45.98% in 2009 the GDP was, and it increased to 49.88% in 2019. So here, if you compare the agricultural, manufacturing, and services, the three sectors, considerably the services sector on a consistent basis, the growth rate is increasing as well as the GDP is also increasing. In 2019, almost half of India's GDP was generated by the services sector, a slight and steady increase in the last 10 years. Now here, among the leading services industries in the country are telecommunications, IT, and software. Now let's have a look at reasons for this tremendous growth of services sector. Why actually there is so much of boom in this services sector? The first and foremost is the government policies. Now here, if we would have not changed the policies, okay, if the government would have not taken the measures, it was forced, I can say, or maybe it was an opportunity which opened the doors for the economy to sustain in this global competition. In 1990s, the economics of India had gone significant policy shifts. The new economy model is commonly known as LPG, or liberalization, privatization, and globalization model. which was initiated under the leadership of then Prime Minister Narasimha Rao and Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. They played a key role in implementing these reform policies. Now here, post this era, before this 1990s, there was a conservative approach towards services and trade. There was the persistence of the license Raj. The protection of services was under the government regime. Policies were never pro-consumer. No technology transfer was possible in the less developed countries. There were lack of investments, and hence it led to a less economic growth, which again resulted in less employment opportunities, which reflected in the low socio-economic status. The products like TV, refrigerators, car, mobiles were considered as a luxury then. After 1990s, the scenario completely changed. The economy was open for foreign collaboration and investments. The highlights of these reforms included foreign technology agreements, foreign investments was welcome, MRTP Act was amended, there was industrial licensing policy, there were deregulations or liberalization was done. It was the beginning of the mark of privatization into many areas or many sectors. There were tremendous opportunities for overseas trade. Major tax reforms were done. There was abolition of license or permit Raj, we can say. So these were the highlights of this policy. Now, with this economic liberalization, when we say there was economic liberalization, it led to tremendous inflow of foreign investment into many areas. More of the manufacturing units were also set up. More new products came into focus. The new products demanded new services. Hence, the service sector also bloomed up. Increasing investments led to increase in the services sector. Expansion of services sector gave rise to the rise in employment opportunities. Rapid industrialization and globalization increase these employment opportunities. This ultimately led to increase in the per capita income. The GDP also increased simultaneously. This again led to increase in the disposable income of public. People who once used to think that leisure, better facilities, recreational facilities were treated as luxuries. Now people started using this disposable income on them. People started spending on leisure, better facilities, recreational facilities, healthcare, and public utilities, also hospitality services. The basic services like dry cleaning, ironing clothes, health clubs, beauty clinics, medical services were outsourced. Now here, with this economic changes, there were also the cultural and social changes slowly and steadily because of industrialization and urbanization. That is the movement of people from rural areas to urban areas, that is migration, demanded in a shift from joint families to nuclear families. The demand of this created new opportunities for the services like babysitting, retailing, insurance, banking, loans, credits. These all increase. These all services inclined. Again, working woman was one of the important factor in this. With the working woman entering into the workforce, this again increased the double income families. The scope of disposable income again increased. That is one thing. Second thing, this created demand for many services like household activities like domestic help, packaged food, tourism, investments, financial services, credits. The inclination towards these services, it increased as more and more women started coming into the workforce. For many of them, spending this disposable income on leisure, tourism became a status symbol. Celebrations, get-togethers, which were once a cultural part, now here the format of celebrating it changed from a very local scale to a mass scale, which gave rise to services like event management, hotels and restaurants. So in this cultural and social changes gave rise to such type of services. Lifestyle changes is also one of the important factors. Greater complexity of life. Greater complexity of life. Life is increasingly become mechanized. More and more time is required to be devoted to complex work situations. This triggers the need for services on at least two counts. One, to spend some leisure time, relaxing, entertainment, vacational tour, travel, etc. And the other thing was minimize the efforts and get the things done quickly. That is comfort was the other thing which was looked upon. Voicemail, mobile telephones, internet banking, teleconferencing, ordering the packaged foods. So here, instead of taking efforts just at the click of internet, if you get the services, that became much more comfortable for the people. Health and beauty aspects. Now, as the lifestyle changes, people started becoming more conscious about their health and the beauty aspect. That's why today we see that there are more numbers of fitness clubs which are increasing in the cities, in the urban areas. The diagnostic centers, since people are becoming much more aware about their health and medical care, this has increased the demand for the diagnostic centers. Also, the medical counseling, that is preventive care, has nowadays is on rise. People require medical counseling. Health information related sites, they are on rise because of this reason again. Since the income is increasing, the disposable income is also increasing simultaneously, and the outlook or the shift of thinking of the people from savings to spending on health, hobbies, and entertainment slowly and steadily shifted to gain the satisfaction. That's why these industries started increasing. Now, the next part is technology advancements. As more and more new products, electronic gadgets started coming in the market, people started adapting them. As new technology develops, the demand for its services automatically it's get created. From traditional banking to ATMs to telebanking and now internet banking is a glaring example of how services have benefited by the technology. From trunk calls to STD to ISD, from cables to optical fibers to internet telephony, we have come a long way. IT industry has tremendously contributed to the Indian company's growth by FD earnings and high quality employment and increased education as well as the infrastructure developments. Now again, when people buy the electronic gadgets, there is a scope for maintenance of these electronic gadgets, giving scope for repair and maintenance services. Similarly, IT and IT enabled services have played a very important role in enhancing the overall service sector. Now, when the option was open for the foreign companies to enter into the Indian market with their products as well as services, it became competitive for the public services to maintain their standards and their quality in comparison with these private owned services. Public administration plays a critical role in providing a stable environment for investment and economic growth. Slowly and steadily, even these public services started copying them, and somewhere they also had to standardize their services to survive in the market and to gain the market share. It became mandatory for these public services to maintain their standards and their quality while rendering the services. The development of markets. This decade is marked by one of the very important factor of development of markets. That is, we are speaking of wholesaling and retailing. That is, increase in the retailers and wholesalers. Today, if you see around us, we find many shopping malls. People like to shop. That is what is the retailing. Retailing has tremendously penetrated even into the rural areas. If you take into consideration the marketing services, these new products and services has given rise somewhere to the overall marketing services. Marketing services include the scope for marketing research, advertising, such type of services came into force or came into existence because of the upcoming or increasing trend of these new products and services. Now, these were some of the factors which contributed in the increase of service sector. These services or the advancements also demanded or created an opportunity for the specialized services like accountants for the sake of tax and laws, psychologists. So here these are specialists which are hired by personal and by organizations. The comfort became much more a priority as compared to the savings. The economic liberalization made the multinationals enter into the sectors like banking, insurance, power projects, telecommunications, hospitality, healthcare, entertainment, air transport, courier services, giving immense scope for the services sector to rise. Also, the export potential increased in the banking, insurance, transportation sectors, accounting services, construction, designing, entertainment, education, health services, software services, tourism. Today, if you see, the major earners are the tourism and the healthcare sector. India is one of the prominent destination as far as the healthcare tourism is considered. Most of the foreigners they enter into India to avail the healthcare facilities. India has a marking edge as far as this healthcare facilities is considered. Now here, next thing is that Indian scenario. Now, what is the Indian scenario as far as the services sector is considered? Now here, hello, hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we are
Yes,
there.
since you are, there is so much of silence, I thought whether you are listening or not.
We are listening, ma'am.
Okay, just give me a minute. Services sector is the fastest and largest growing sector in the in India. As we said, there was a shift in the economy. It started from the agriculture, it moved on to the manufacturing, and then slowly it shifted to the services sector. India ranks number 4 as far as the services sector is considered. Now here, IT innovation and FDI in India played a major role in enhancing the Indian services sector. The services sector is not the dominant sector in India's GDP, but has also attracted significant foreign investments. It has contributed significantly to export and has provided large-scale employment. Service sector is the largest recipient of FDI in India, with inflow of $82 billion US dollars between April 2000 and March 2020. In June 2020, Geo Platforms Limited sold 22.38% stake worth rupees 1.04 trillion, that is 14.75 billion US dollars to 10 global investors in a span of 8 weeks under separate deals involving Facebook, Silver Lake Vista, General Atlantic, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, TPG Capital, and L. Carlton. This is the largest continuous fund raised by any company in the world. In February 2020, Novartis launched Biome India, a digital innovation hub in Hyderabad, its first such center in Asia and the fourth globally. Indian healthcare companies are entering into mergers and acquisitions every now and then with domestic and foreign companies to drive growth and gain new markets. Composition of service sector in India includes trade, hotels and restaurants, transport, storage and communication, railways, transports by other means, storage and communication, financing, insurance, real estate and business services. These also include the banking and insurance, the real estate, ownership of dwellings and business services, the public administration and the defense, as well as the other services. If you take, for example, the aviation industry, the civil aviation industry in India has emerged as one of the fastest growing India's industries during the last 3 years. India has become third largest domestic aviation market in the world and is expected to overtake UK to become third largest air passenger by 2024. India's passenger traffic stood at 341.05 million in financial year 2020. To cater to the rising air traffic, the government of India has been increasing the number of airports. If we take the banking sector, the Indian banking system consists of public sectors, private sectors, foreign banks, regional rural banks, urban cooperative bank, rural corporations, in addition to cooperative credit institutions. Imagine the immense potential of employment generation and the contribution of this sector in the economy. If we consider further the e-commerce has transformed the way business is done in India. The Indian e-commerce market is expected to grow 200 billion US dollars by 2026 from 38.5 billion US dollars as of 2019. There is a tremendous increase in the use of internet and smartphone penetration. Now, these are the two major reasons for the growth of e-commerce in India. That is rising use of internet as well as the smartphone penetration. India's internet economy is expected to double and reach 250 billion US dollar by 2022. India's e-commerce revenue is expected to jump from 39 billion US dollar to 120 billion US dollar in 2022, growing at an annual rate of 51%, the highest in the world. The reasons being the smartphone penetration, launch of 4G network, increasing consumer wealth, and rise in the retail sales in India. Now, if you take the education sector in consideration, if you just take into account the education sector, world's largest population of about 500 million is in the age bracket of 5 to 24 years. Now, this is the great opportunity for the education sector. The country has become the second largest market for e-learning after the US, which again gives a tremendous potential for the internet services, that is IT and IT enabled services for e-learning. The sector is expected to reach 1.96 billion by 2021 with around 9.5 million users. If we consider the healthcare sector, one of the India's largest sectors in terms of both revenue and employment. Now, these healthcare comprises of hospitals, medical devices, clinical trials, outsourcing, telemedicine, medical tourism, health insurance, and medical equipment. Both we are considering the public as well as the private sectors. India's competitive advantage lies in its large pool of well-trained medical professionals. India is also cost competitive as compared to its peers in Asia and Western countries. Now here we had a look at few sectors. There is much more in the basket. A global business is the one that transcends national boundaries and is not committed to a single home country. A service company that decides to go global must align its operations with its global strategy to address the needs of global customers. The service product delivery system and the costs all have to be re-engineered to suit different markets. Now here, there are 5 basic global service strategies: multi-country expansion, importing customers, service unbundling, and beating the clock. Franchising has come in handy for services. For a multi-site expansion, with these services can be quickly cloned at multiple locations. McDonald's, Federal Express, Disneyland, Holiday Inn hotels, etc. are examples of this. The services are thus exported by recreating the service experience at multiple locations. Service must adapt to local needs. Pizza Hut has adapted to local needs with a great fineness all around the world. This often requires some modifications of the service concept. Many a times you have to modify the product as well as the service counters. Many strategic issues are involved in moving service operations out and around the world. This kind of expansion is best suited to cases where the services can be standardized, as in case of McDonald's. Different multi-site services. Some multi-service single site requires their customers to travel a long distance and stay for an extended period. Such single site services have to focus on making travel and stay convenient for its customers. Therefore, they must create a set of supporting services. The most tourist destinations rely heavily on package tour operators who take care of visa formalities, travel, board and lodging, and local sightseeing. India also ranks or marks its growth of service sectors in this area. Another strategy to grow global is to follow the customers. Many service companies open offices abroad not to serve the local market, but to follow their clients overseas and continue to serve them. Most international airline operators have their offices in different parts of the world so that they are close to their customers. Many universities now have offices overseas to solicit new admissions and create a positive image of their organizations. Service unbundling refers to dividing the service into parts along the supply chain. While the back office activities can be organized and managed in the host country, the part that requires contact with the customers is transferred to the country where the customers are present. For example, the telecommunications. The cell phone service providers, the service provide may not tie up with the competitive for providing service where he cannot offer service